Hello and welcome to another video. In this one we're going to be talking about Git hooks, which I'm particularly passionate about because I happen to have written a Git hooks framework that is most of what I focus on. But in particular we're going to be answering a common question that I get, which is why are Git hooks opt-in? Why can't they just be automatic when I clone the repository? Why do I have to go through all this rigmarole to enable them every time I clone? And I'm actually going to show you that there are two different ways to automatically enable Git hooks, but hopefully I'll convince you that it's a bad idea to do so, and the reason is security. But anyway, let's jump into it, and I will show you that example here. So I'm actually using the newest version of Git, and I'm going to use the newest version of Git hooks, which is one of the ways to there's two ways to enable Git hooks. I'm going to show you the new version with this. If you want more of a rundown of how this works, I actually just did a video on this. You can search this search term and click on this video and watch my explanation of that. But anyway, I guess I should give a little intro of what are Git hooks in the first place. There are certain lifecycle events inside Git, such as making a commit, doing a push, checking out a revision, performing a rebase, etc., that Git allows you to hook into or run custom commands as a side effect of doing those. In some cases, you can cancel the events, such as the pre-commit or pre-push events. But some cases, you can just perform side effects and you can't cancel the event. There are many Git hooks, and occasionally they get added. For instance, if you look inside a repository, the default install of Git comes with all of these .sample hooks, and so it's an example of some of the ones that you can use, and some of the things that fire. Note that the .sample ones don't actually fire until you've named them as the script without .sample on the end. So for instance, this is a live hook for the pre-commit event. In Git 2.54, these can also be configured through git config itself, and we're going to use one of those as a global hook in this example video. All right, with me so far? Cool. So these can just be arbitrary scripts, and so generally, to opt into them, you create a script in this directory, make it executable, and that's how you've opted into this behavior. And in theory, the idea being that you've made a conscious decision to enable these, so if there's arbitrary code execution, which there is in these scripts, then you've signed off on it, and you're okay with whatever side effects it does. Now, it is possible to write a Git hook that runs always. I'm going to show you how to do that with Git 2.54, and then I'm going to show you how to do it with older Git versions. And in 2.54, notice I'm editing my global Git config. So this is a Git config that applies to every repository on my machine, including repositories as I clone them. I've created an example hook here that runs on post checkout and just does some simple setup. So you might imagine a conventional repository setup where you have a little setup.sh at the root, and you might want Git to invoke your setup.sh when you clone a repository. I don't think this is a good idea, but this is just an example to show you why this is a bad idea. It sounds like maybe a good idea. Like I could plausibly see this as something that's like a internal convention at some company where they've made some sort of system that helps them get set up with stuff. But I wouldn't use this in the wild. But anyway, just as an example, if I take this and I now clone a repository, one of the side effects of cloning a repository, unless you clone it with --no checkout. So for instance, if I clone ASTPretty, you'll notice at the end of this, my little script started running. I specifically made it verbose mode so that we could see when it actually executes things here. And you'll notice that it didn't find a setup.h file because, of course, why would my repository have a setup.sh file? But it did execute this as a side effect of cloning. So you might imagine a nefarious repository, someone creating, some repository that has a setup.sh that's, Echo owned or whatever, grabs your SSH keys, grabs your Bitcoin wallets, scoops up your AI, API, whatever the hell, takes over your agentic workflows or whatever the heck you're doing. But you can imagine a repository like this, where you don't really want to just arbitrarily run some code as you clone something. So imagine if I cloned wat to wat2. Yeah, it ran that script, and I had no opportunity to inspect that script before executing it. And so the idea here is like Git doesn't really want to auto-enable these, because then it would auto-enable arbitrary code execution on something as, you know, what's supposed to be benign as a Git clone. Typically, the design is supposed to be Git clone should not run arbitrary code. However, we've already seen one way that you can enable that, just using that little Git config thing that I did there. There's another way that you can enable this in Git using the old way of auto-enabling hooks, which is init templater. Precommit actually has a helper for this. I don't remember how it works. Does it take a directory? Yeah. So if we make this T directory a template dir, you can see T has a precommit script in it, and if I run the hint that it says here, git config global init template dir this, I can run that command, and let's actually install. No, that's fine. That's probably good enough. Now that I've configured that template dir, you can see, where is it? Here. Now that I've configured this template dir and I clone any repository, so for instance, we did AST pretty already. Let's do tokenize RT. We'll clone this repository. My global hook from 2.54 ran, but if we cd into this repository, you'll see that my precommit hook is already set up here automatically. This is pretty convenient, but at the same time, like probably something that you should only do if you're cloning repositories that you trust, because otherwise, you know, automatically enabling your Git hooks. That's an interesting output. What happened here? Oh. Right. I forgot that I configured a global hook, and so it exited non-zero. So let's actually let's fix this to or true at the end, because we don't actually want it to crash. All right, let's do that now. It's just to show you that, yeah, I automatically enabled a Git hook here, so it's going to run without me needing to precommit install or modify that Git hooks directory. So anyway, maybe I haven't convinced you that this is a bad idea yet, but maybe I can convince you using a CVE, which was a mistake that has been in Git for quite a while, but was fixed last year? No, it's 2026. So 2 years ago, CVE 2024-32002. The idea behind this vulnerability was essentially they had a layout that looked something like this, where you have a main repo, and inside that main repo, you're going to get a Git directory with a hooks directory. They had a submodule which had, I forget where the symlink was. I think it was like a symlink here. No. I think it was, so the vulnerability was on a case insensitive file system. It allowed them to write into this directory. And basically what it was something like a lowercase file that pointed at .git, and then an uppercase file that had, oh, maybe it was uppercase file and I want to say it was something like this, where the lowercase thing was a symlink to the Git directory, and then there was an uppercase directory that had a subdirectory that was a hook directory, and then a subdirectory which had your nefarious hook here. And so when cloning this recursive structure on a case-insensitive file system, this would write through the symlink into this Git hooks directory, because the Git directory is shared between submodules and the main repository. And so it would allow this to automatically install itself and then run just by cloning a repository recursively. I seem to remember that's the vulnerability. Yeah. Fooled into writing files not in the work tree, but in the Git directory. This allows writing a hook that would be executed when the clone operation is still running. Yeah. So exactly what I was describing in this video, but slightly different. You can patch it out by disabling symlinks, although I think symlinks are pretty useful. But yeah, anyway, so this was a vulnerability in Git itself, basically exploiting the same system that I've shown is possible to intentionally exploit yourself with if you configure Git in a way using init templater or the new Git 2.54 global hooks setup. Anyway, hopefully you found this useful. If there are additional things you'd like me to explain, leave a comment below or reach out to me on the various platforms. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.